Hi, I'm Andy Lodge. Today we're going to talk about the weather, but also about performance and how those two tie together. We're going to talk about performance you can trust. You know, the weather's been crazy, it seems, everywhere. You got high winds, you got hail, torrential rain, more hail, more wind, and everyone expects roofs, which are up there all the time, to perform in all of these weather conditions. Wind is probably one of the most severe tests for any installed roof system. The homeowners, contractors, and certainly us the manufacturers expect the shingles to stay on the roof in those high winds. What's the first thing that keeps the shingles on the roof? Nails. And everybody's made a big deal these days, especially manufacturers, about getting nails in the right spot on shingles. The most common shingle installed these days is a laminated shingle. It's got 2 layers. And where those 2 layers overlap, right in the middle, it's called the common bond area. And there's a nail line on top of the shingle, most shingles, that tell contractors exactly where the nail has to go. And it's worth it. It makes a huge difference in the performance of the shingle. So wouldn't it be better if we had a bigger target area to hit? And that's what IKO has, ArmourZone. It's a larger nailing zone on their Dynasty and Nordic shingles. It not only allows the roofing contractor to not be lax, but just go a little bit faster and get all those nails in the right spot. But what's most important is performance. The uplift resistance, once that ArmourZone area is hit, is tremendous. And we're going to demonstrate that for you today, as we've done at a number of shows around the country. So let's nail on our competitive shingle with this nail line here. We've got a couple of high nails, real-world nailing. Let's move across to the Dynasty. Here you've got the wider nail zone, not just a single line, and there's that reinforcement at the back. Same gun, same nails. Now that we've nailed the shingles on, here comes the real performance test. What we've had people do, what I'm going to do now, is pretend to be the wind and try and lift these shingles off of the deck. First, the competitive shingle came off pretty easy. I'm not the strongest guy around. Now we'll move over and see how the Dynasty works. Certainly a lot tougher with that ArmourZone. Hey, don't take my word for it. We've had people do this at trade shows across the country. Here's another test done in a laboratory with a tensile tester holding on to a nail pushed through the common bond area in a conventional laminated shingle and through the ArmourZone area on Dynasty. And you can see the difference. It comes through a little easier on the conventional shingle, but it just does not give up without a fight, trying to go through that ArmourZone. One other way that we've noticed the strength of ArmourZone, a contractor pointed out to us actually. We call it the blow-through test. Now, in this deck, there's a big gap here, and we wouldn't recommend, nobody would, that you try and nail shingles to thin air. But let's see what happens when we try and drive a nail through the ArmourZone area with this gap underneath. Look at that. Stopped it right in its tracks. That's pretty tough stuff. Now, see what happens on a conventional, competitive laminated shingle when we do the same thing. Blew right through a hole. Probably not a good idea on your roof. What else is keeping the shingles on the roof against those high winds? It's not gravity or snow or anything, it's the shingle sealant. The row of sealant on the back of the shingle that bonds the shingles together once warmed by the sun. What we've done at some of the trade shows, along with letting people feel the difference in ArmourZone, is let them feel the strength of the new FastLock sealant. You know, IKO's been making polymer-modified sealant for their glass shingles since the late 80s, and they're continuously improving. And over the last couple of years, they've done a lot of research into new polymers, new asphalts, new technologies, and they've rolled out the latest generation of FastLock sealant at their plants over the last year with great success. And if I try and pull them apart, it's It's almost as if it's like a construction adhesive or something. It damages the shingles to try and get these apart. Hey, no presentation of this caliber would be complete without fancy charts and graphs, and here they come. You can see in this chart a table of different numbers. What does it all mean? What we did, one of the key aspects of sealant that people look for is how well does it seal in cold weather? That's the most critical time for sealant, those winter applications. We took our new FastLock IKO shingles and some competitive shingles and just laid them out on a roof, in Canada no less. And then we checked them, the same technician every day for a number of days until we got that initial tack, that little bit of bond that you can start to hear as the shingle bond starts to form. And we kept checking them until we got full adhesion. And what do you see? IKO's at the top of the list. Bonded sooner in cold weather applications, a critical performance aspect of the sealant. Now we move on to the graph because anyone can just make the sealant stick better in cold weather, but how does it perform in hot weather? That's what the shingles are going to see in the summer, right? Well, you can see on the left side of the graph, there is a little bit of adhesion in cold weather, but as these graph lines move up, what you don't want to have happen is the line move down as the roof warms up, because then the sealant is starting to ooze, maybe get runny, weaken. And look again, IKO's at the top. That top line is the new FastLock sealant. So the important thing to understand here is the new FastLock sealant seals better and sooner in cool weather and stays bonded even in hot weather. Well, the fancy charts and graphs are one thing, but your question is, do the IKO shingles meet the highest ASTM wind test standards there are in the industry? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes we do. Take a look at this video. This is the Florida hurricane wind test. And watch very carefully. Not only does it almost knock this guy's hat off, but if you look, just watch right till the end, you know what you see? Nothing. The shingles don't move. And that's what you want. You want the shingles to stay sealed even in high wind conditions. And that's what IKO shingles with the new FastLock sealant do. And how is it that IKO can meet these wind tests so consistently with their shingles? We make our own sealant. We make it ourselves at our plants. We control that key aspect of the raw material that goes into shingles. You're thinking, is that the only raw material you control? Absolutely not. The glass mat, the reinforcement in the shingles, the fibers that go into the mat, the granules on top of the shingles, even the copper-coated granules that keep your roof looking beautiful for many years. Make those ourselves. And again, we even print our own wrappers that we use in our shingle plants. That vertical integration is important to IKO. How is it important to you? Because it's consistent quality, it's control, so that we can make shingles with performance that you can trust. Remember at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about all the crazy weather, and that's why you need roof products that perform. Well, we also talked about hail. You know, hail has been a huge cost for insurance companies across North America. They've been the single largest purchaser of asphalt shingles for many decades. So quite a few years ago, they got together and said, we've got to come up with a test that will determine if certain roofing products are more resistant to the impact from hail or less resistant. And then they decided, if we have a determining test and we can find some products that are more resistant to hail impacts, we can give homeowners who choose those roofing materials in those hail regions a discount on their homeowners policy. And that's what they did. They came up with a couple of tests. Here's one that uses a steel ball. You can see it's a 20-foot long tube. And there's a guy at the top dropping a steel ball onto a deck of shingles. They drop it in different spots to check for the most vulnerable area. And if it passes, you can get a rating. Here's the other test the insurance industry came up with to evaluate the impact resistance of roofing materials. And as you can see, it shoots ice, which is basically hail, from a cannon, in this case, into a deck of Nordic shingles. Different spots again to check for vulnerable areas on the shingles. And after they shoot it, they zoom in, they dismantle the deck and check, and again, see if it complies with the Class 4, the highest level you can get. This appears to be an ordinary household apple. Let's see how it does in the Smasherator. Well, that's quite an impact. Let's try it on a couple of different construction materials. We've got wood, common building material. Put it in the impact area. Got a bit of a crack there and a dent on this side. Wood, maybe not so good. Let's try something a little more robust. It's brittle, but it's pretty tough stuff. Concrete. How is it going to do? You see, if you're trying to survive an impact, maybe brittle's not so good. You know, another common building material, metal. Beauty of this test, you can check metal too. Let's see how it does. Nope, didn't survive. And you know, when hail goes through the neighborhood, you often see it in dents on the vents on the roof. So next, we're going to check Nordic shingles, IKO'S impact-resistant product, to see how it does. Remember, here's Nordic, which is impact-resistant. And it's not that Nordic is hail-proof. I mean, who knows how big hail's going to get, or wind direction and other things. But it will get you Class 4, and that's the highest ratings in these tests. And it'll get your homeowners in these hail regions the discount where it's offered by different insurance companies. So let's see how it does in the Smasherator. Well, a little applesauce on the back, but it survived. And I know what you're thinking. I tested it in the single-ply area. How would it do over here in the two-ply area? Let's check it and see. Good news, performed without fracture or breaking. So how is it that Nordic shingles can meet these tests? It's polymer modified coating. You know, IKO'S been making polymer modified asphalt in their shingles for many years, and they know how to do it right. Don't make it too soft or the shingles can scuff. But you got to make it flexible enough that it can absorb the impact on these tests. We use this polymer modified coating. You bend it, it's tough stuff, it's elastic, it absorbs the impact on those hail tests. To summarize, today we talked about performance you can trust. And we talked about the performance category of IKO shingles that includes Nordic and Dynasty, both featuring ArmourZone. The wider, easier to hit nail line that more importantly provides uplift resistance performance. We talked about the latest generation of FastLock sealant. Seals sooner in cold weather and stays strong in hot weather. And we talked about the vertical integration, quality control of the raw materials at IKO throughout the entire process. All of this leading to beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and performance you can trust.